Leon Edwards taking on Kamaru Usman for the third time. Just to set this up real quick. They fought somewhat recently, about 6-8 months ago. Well, I guess it's not that recent. It feels like it was last week. Man, it's stuck in my memory. I think that's why I feel that way. Leon Edwards, the 31-year-old out of England. He is 20-3 with 1 no contest, 7 knockouts, 3 subs, 10 decisions on his record. His last loss was to Kamaru Usman back in December of 2015. He has gone undefeated since then, with 1 no contest, 3 fights ago against Bilal Muhammad, in which there was an accidental eye poke. Edwards poked Muhammad by accident, and the fight had to end. But he was winning that fight, I believe. And then he fought Nate Diaz in a funny fight, which we won't get into here. He walked away the winner by decision. And then he fought Usman in a rematch. Tried to avenge his loss. And he was getting worked for 4 rounds. And then in the 5th round...
Yeah, he won round 1.
For 3.
Don't forget that.
Okay, fine. But round 1 was close. He took him down in round 1.
I didn't think it was close at all.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Really?
That was all Leon. That was all Leon.
Well, then the tides turned very quickly.
Yes. That's true. That's true.
Usman was taking his lunch money for 3 rounds.
Yes.
True.
And anyway, I'll let you guys get into it a bit more. Ended by head kick in the 5th round. Tremendous, tremendous stuff, man. Usman, the Nigerian nightmare, the 35-year-old, originally from Delray Beach, Florida. He is 20-2 as a pro with 9 knockouts, 10 decisions. Out of his 2 losses, the one most recently is only his 2nd loss. I don't have it right in front of me, but I know that his first loss came very early in his pro career. And then he went on quite a tear as a pro, as well as to the UFC. Undefeated in the UFC up to last August. And we're here. Fight number 3, which, like I said earlier, really feels like a rematch. Mark, let me start it off with you. Give us that take. Give us that pick, baby.
Okay. The challenger, Kamaru Usman, is minus 250 as the favorite. Leon Edwards is a plus 200 dog. Here we go. We're doing it again. The trilogy. It's 1-1. I picked Leon Edwards last time. He fought the worst fight that I could have ever imagined him fighting, to the point that I was yelling at my TV, dumbfounded as to what he was doing, and he still won. And I'm picking him again. It seems like the whole world is on Usman. The whole world is pointing to the fact that Usman was winning all along last time, if not for this kick, and now Usman will win again. Obviously, as I just told you, he's a minus 250 favorite. I disagree. I think Leon's confidence will be in a much different place now. I think it helps him that he's at home. I think the crowd is going to be hugely behind him. I think he fights a much more aggressive and tactical fight the way I expected him to the first time. I said this in our recap of the last fight, but in that fight, Leon, like so many others, fell into the pattern of wilting to the pressure that Kamaru brings in there and being willing to back up. He let Kamaru dictate the space. He was willing to fight off his back foot with his back to the cage. And in doing that, he took away what makes him great. He closed his toolbox, if you will. And not to mention, I also think the elevation played a big role in that. If you remember that card, Leon looked a little bit off. Like as soon as we got past the first round, it's the card where Rockhold and Costa looked so tired. Even Merab wasn't exactly Merab on that card. The only guy who looked like himself was Usman, who trains at elevation. And now we're on equal playing field here. So I think that could be a factor as well. But going back to that fight, I said this then, and again, it's a small sample size, but in round 5, as soon as Leon finally stopped backing up, as soon as he went for it, he started landing everything. Instead of conceding when Usman would throw, he would feint. He would throw something small, and he would step forward and retake the space instead of just continually backing up. And when he did that, the toolbox was open again. And for about a minute and a half before that kick, he was winning the fight. And he was finally making Usman think. He was making Usman react. And that's why he landed that kick. He was able to freeze Kamaru because his weapons are many. And if Kamaru has to think about Leon and react to Leon as opposed to the other way around, it's a different fight. And I have faith that we're going to see that from Leon this time. I think we see the full version of Leon. Maybe it's not another KO, but I think it is a better overall performance. I will say he wins it either 49-46 or more likely I'll say just a clear 48-47, not something that is controversial where he definitely gets 3 of these. But give me Leon Edwards to defend his belt in the UK by UD.
Wowza. Wow. Omar, you're up. Hit us.
Trying to think if there's a world where Leon Edwards knocks out Kamaru Usman again. I mean, it was a Hail Mary shot, the first one.
Oh, it sure was.
I don't think that happens the second time. But I thought the first round in that first fight was very telling. I think that it showed that Edwards was not afraid of what Kamaru Usman brings to the table, which I think a lot of people can be very intimidated after or during a fight with Kamaru, knowing what he brings in terms of the wrestling, control, ability to nullify somebody's game. I don't think Edwards played into that in the first round, but I do think, like Mark said, the elevation just might have cut him early. And I don't think he was the same fighter 2, 3, and 4. And I think we needed that speech in round 5, and even to start round 5, man, like, looked like he had to dig deep for everything else that he had, man, because, Kamaru didn't even look like he was really breathing hard. But he threw a beautiful cross. The story writes itself, like we said, but throws a cross, throws a kick right behind it, and just completely destroys Kamaru Usman. And while I don't think he catches him again, I do think the change in circumstance around that fight, including the elevation, having beaten him before now, being in home territory, all the things that kind of Mark already went over, I do think that is going to play a big factor overall. And I think some of these rounds will be competitive. I wouldn't even be surprised if they go back and forth, 1-1 and 1-1 until we get to the 5th round. But I do think that Leon leaves the victor. I think he wins 3 out of the 5 rounds. And I think we're going to be and still.
Wow. I can't believe both you guys are.
Did I sway you, or were you going that way from jump?
No, man. I've been thinking about Leon winning that fight for a minute now. And it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't really feel like... I don't really want to count Usman out.
Yeah, it feels
but
wild.
There's just something about the way Leon has been carrying himself that hasn't, for me, been over the top. Right? There are a lot of guys that, like, are almost like too much after they win something like this, where they're feeling themselves and they're almost overconfident and stuff like that. But I think Leon is still, while confident, measured. If anything, I think he knows now what he can do against Kamaru Usman with full faculties in front of him. So I think it's going to work for him, man. I do.
What you got, Mike?
Yeah, so I feel like what's interesting about this fight is that both of these guys could be coming in here with a lot of confidence, because Usman can be saying to himself, I was working this man and I was cruising to a win.
He has been saying it every chance he gets.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And Edwards can be saying, even though I was down in the cards, all I need is one moment of the fight and I can win. Because I have the skills, and I have the striking skill, and I have the power. Equally, I think both guys, forget about whatever they say in the media week, because of course they're going to talk a big game. They both can have a lot of like apprehension, because Usman can say like, man, I fought such a great fight, but all it took was one moment where I kind of like let my guard down a little too much, and It got knocked out. And Edwards can say the opposite too, of like, fuck, like I won, but I was getting like my shit like fucked up for 3 straight rounds. I think I would love to see Edwards win, but I think that I'm going to make the smart pick here, which I think is a smart pick, and I'm going to think that I think that Usman is going to bring in a very similar game plan, and he is going to be that much more cautious, and he's going to say, I just have to not get caught. I have to avoid that bomb. He has to take a page out of John Jones' playbook and say, I need to be really good at avoiding that bomb. And I think he's going to sail to a UD victory and get his belt back. And I think that it would be kind of interesting if we can find an angle where we can get fight number 4, kind of a la Moreno and Figueiredo. Do you think that's possible? If it's a close fight, if this third fight is a close fight, with the state of the elite upper echelon of welterweight, do you think it's possible to line up fight number 4?
Something would need to happen. It would need to be a draw or something. I don't think winning or losing at this point is going to make it an immediate rematch. I think something crazy would need to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it would ever be immediate. Now, obviously if Leon wins, that's the end of it. If Usman wins and then defends against, whoever you want to say, Bilal, and Leon fights like Colby and beats him, then maybe I could see it happen again. But I don't think immediate.